Show that 2x minus y plus 2 equals 0 and 4x minus 2y plus 5 are parallel. Now, that keyword parallel, if we're trying to show that these two functions are parallel, we're trying to determine that both of these functions have the same slope. And so with these linear functions, what we can do is we can try and rearrange them to show them in slope-intercept form, right? So if we show them in slope-intercept form, if we rearrange them to slope-intercept form, we'll be able to easily identify both of their slopes and then show that they're both parallel to each other. All right, so let's start with the first one. I'll write the first one down below. 2x minus y plus 2 equals 0. Now, in order for me to show this in slope-intercept form, I'll write slope-intercept form up the top, and I'll write in the same color. So slope-intercept form, that's where y equals mx plus c. And the m is the slope, so if we can find the slope-intercept form of our two functions here, we can easily just look at this number here. The coefficient of x is our slope, and of course c is the y-intercept of this function. So let's go ahead and transform both of these functions into slope-intercept form. So 2x minus y plus 2 equals 0. I'm just going to try and shift across the positive 2 and the 2x. But I can actually see an easier way. If I just move my minus y here, and I move this across to the other side of the equation, then I'll just find out what y is equal to, and that's in slope-intercept form. So let's do that. Let's move our y over. So seeing as it's minus y, if I move it over to the other side, it'll go to positive y, and that's what we're after. So positive y equals 2x plus 2. And so I can easily identify that my slope is equal to 2. And that's because the coefficient of x here is 2. So that's my slope. Done. I'll move on to my next function. So 4x equals 2y plus 5. Okay, let's go ahead and rearrange this function so that we have it in slope-intercept form. So here's my y. I've identified my y, and I need to move across the positive 5 and the 2. So let's go ahead and move both of those terms. I'm going to move the positive 5 first. So let's go ahead and do that. So 4x minus 5 equals 2y. And now what I can do is I can move this 2 to the other side of the equation. But I'll be dividing now 4x minus 5 by 2. Because at the moment we're multiplying 2. We'll be dividing 2 on the other side of the equation. So here we go. And I'll write y first. I'll write this part of the equation first. So y equals 4x minus 5, and I'll divide all of that by 2. And that's because I've got two terms here. I've got 4x and I've got minus 5. So they both need to be divided by 2. Alright, what I can do is I can show that they're both being divided by 2 by writing them as separate fractions. So y equals 4x on 2 minus 5 on 2. And now I can start to simplify things here. And when I do, I'll realize my slope quite quickly. So I can divide 4 by 2, and that'll just give me 2 over 1, or just 2. So y equals 2 lots of x minus 5 halves. Alright, so what I can do now is I can identify, because we have in slope-intercept form, y equals mx minus c. I can just quickly have a look and identify that my slope is also 2 here. So I'll write that slope equals 2, and from there I've just identified that my two functions are parallel because they share the same slope.